Hello and welcome to the Swine Disease Reporting System. This is the report number 70. We're going to cover the findings from the previous month of the SDRS, the month of November. My name is Edison Magalhães here at the SDRS podcast.
Hello, my name is Giovanni Trevisan at the SDRS.
Hello, my name is Guilherme, also at SDRS.
Hello, Daniel Linhares with the SDRS team.
And today, as I mentioned, we're going to cover the findings from the previous month, the month of November 2023. And we have the pleasure to having here today Dr. JQ joining the SDRS podcast. Dr. Zhang is currently a professor at the Iowa State University and a diagnostic virologist focusing on swine medicine. Dr. Zhang also got his medical degree from the Beijing Medical University and his PhD in molecular virology at the University of Kentucky in Lexington. His research has had a major impact on Iowa in the US and global animal health. Specifically, he has worked with important emerging swine virus identifications such as PD, Delta coronavirus, and Seneca virus, zoonotic virus such as influenza, and virus with a significant economic impact on the swine industry, and he's well known by his work on PRRS. And in today's episode, Dr. Zhang will talk about the new global PRRS lineage classification system, and also Srijita Chandra, a PhD student here at Iowa State University at the Computer Science Department, and data analyst for the SDRS, will talk about the application of this new lineage classification to the SDRS project. So welcome both Dr. JQ and Srijita.
Thank you, Edison, for the introduction. Glad to be here to join the SDRS podcast.
Hi, thank you for the introduction, Edison. It's been great working with the SDRS so far.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang and Srijita, for being able to join us today on the podcast. But before we go there, Guilherme, what are the main finds for the SDRS during the month of November?
Hey, Giovanni, for the first page that we have the PRRS virus, we have the third consecutive month of increased positivity in the win-to market category for this specific virus. And also when we look to our database was also the 30 consecutive months that the average CT values of the submissions of the win to market are dropping. And nowadays are around 27 to 26, the CT average of the submissions.
So here we go again, lots of activities of PRRS virus in the field at this time of the year. What the advisory group mentioned for us about this?
According to our advisory group, this period of the year that we start to have more clinical cases of PRRS, it is expected to have this drop in the CT values and the submission, for example, that we are identifying the SDRS. But also, according to our advisory group, the lineage that they are dealing in the field in these last years, they are having more cases that we have a lower CT values in these lineage that are affecting the farms in the win to market category.
So lots of activity of PRRS virus. And how about endemic coronavirus? Anything different there?
Well, the colder months just arrived, right? We are coming to the winter, and this is expected to have an increased activity of this coronavirus, and PD and Delta are increasing in all the age categories this month. And also, we would like to highlight that for Delta coronavirus, these increasing percentage positive submissions were above the expected in this month of November.
And how about the other pathogens that we have in the report?
Yeah, as we alerted before, the colder months, again, the winter, that we have increased activity of these endemic pathogens, and PCV2, we are having an increased percentage of positive submissions in the winter market category. And for influenza A virus, what is an alert for the SDRS is that we are having an increased positivity in the sow farms submissions that we are having. And these activities, not only for PRRS, but for influenza, is also supported by the ISU VDL confirmed diagnosis data, that we are having over 400 cases of confirmed tissue diagnosis for PRRS, and for influenza, over 200 cases only in this period of November, which together with Streptococcus suis are the three main pathogens that are being detected this month.
Very good. Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you, Guilherme, for this update of the SDRS findings from the previous month. So now let's move to our discussion with our guests here today. So first of all, Dr. JQ, there's no other way of starting this podcast that is not talking about this new classification system about PRRS. So in your opinion, why do we need a new lineage classification system for PRRS, and how was it developed?
Well, it's well known that both type 1 PRRS and type 2 PRRS are genetically diverse, So people wanted to have a way to describe PRRS genetic relatedness and differences. So back to 1998, RFLP typing based on the cutting pattern of PERS2 alpha 5 sequences by 3 restriction enzymes were introduced in North America to distinguish the BI, in GLVAC PERS MV vaccine from the wild type strains. Since then, RFLP typing has been widely used in North America to describe PERS2 diversity. You may be familiar with some, terminology example, RFLP pattern 252, 174, 144, and so on, So we have to say that RFLP pattern, this itself is easy for communications, and also some RFLP patterns can pretty accurately reflect genetic relatedness. For example, the viruses having 252 RFLP typing, they pretty closely related to each other. And also viruses having 174, they are overall similar to each other. However, in most of the scenarios, RFLP typing has some shortcomings. For example, the viruses having the same RFLP pattern, like 144, they could be genetically divergent. They are not related to each other, but they have the same RFLP pattern. And also, on the other hand, some viruses have a different RFLP pattern, example 174, 173, but they could be closely related to each other. So overall, the RFLP typing is not an accurate method to determine PERS2 genetic relatedness and diversity. So in 2010, Shimeng from Dr. Frederick Liang's group at University of Hong Kong proposed the PERS2 alpha 5 based lineage and sublineage systems. So they analyzed over 8,200 global PERS2 alpha 5 sequences and proposed 9 lineage systems, lineage 1 through lineage 9, and 37 sublineages. So those 9 lineage systems have been widely used. However, the 37 sublineages have not been accepted for use worldwide because they did not provide the reference sequences for those 37 sublineages. So in 2019, Dr. Igor Pavlovsky from the Dr. Kim Vanderwall's group at Minnesota, they analyzed over 4,000 PERS2 alpha 5 sequences only from US. And then they refined the sublineages within lineage 1. They proposed, lineage 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D alpha, 1D beta, and 1E. And then 2 years later, in 2021, the same group analyzed more sequences. They further, refined that sublineages in lineage 1. They basically added sublineages 1F, 1G, and 1H. So they did not analyze the other lineages. They only focus on lineage 1. And secondly, for those sublineages within lineage 1, there were some issues. Example, lineage 1B and 1G, actually they are closely clustered to each other. It's hard to distinguish them. Similarly, the 1D alpha and 1E clustered together, it makes no sense to have those 2 separate sublineages, So due to these reasons, my group decided to refine the PERS2 alpha 5 based classification system. So we collaborated with some folks at Iowa State and also the one researcher from the USDA, and also the Igor Pavlovsky and Kim Vanderwall from Minnesota, and Dr. Shimeng from Sun Yat-sen University in China. So we collaborated, and on this work, we basically analyzed over 82,000 global PERS2 alpha 5 sequences. We collected all of those sequences with the best effort we could put into to get those sequences. It's a pretty thorough analysis. Then also the sequences spanning from the year 1989 to 2021. So with that, we refined the lineages into 11 lineages, lineage 1 through lineage 11, and also with some sublineages within lineage 1, 5, 8, and 9. So also, with those information, we were able to determine the geographic and temporary distribution of those lineages and sublineages worldwide.
Wow, JQ, that's a lot of sequence, more than 8,000 sequence to refine this classification of parasites too. So can you explain to our audience why we have new lineage and sublineage?
Yeah. So as I mentioned that Shi et al. In 2010, they proposed 9 lineages. But I noticed that in some countries, they have some new sequences, but those do not cluster within those 9 lineages. So they just use their own way to describe those, it's just make it inconsistent and inconvenient for communication. That is one. So that's why we look at all of these over 82,000 sequences. We proposed 11 lineages. So our lineage 1 through lineage 9, we tried to be consistent with the previous lineages, but the lineage 10 and lineage 11 are new lineages. Lineage 10 have mainly been found in Thailand. Lineage 11 have mainly been found in South Korea. So that is at the lineage level. So our system has the 2 new lineages, lineage 10 and lineage 11. At the sublineage levels, we proposed sublineages within lineage 1, 5, 8, and 9. But we could not compare our sublineage system with Shi's 2010 paper because they did not provide the reference sequences for sublineages. But overall, our lineage 5 have the 2 sublineages that are pretty consistent with Shi's. But our lineage 8 and lineage 9, each of those include 5 sublineages. Example, the 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, 8E, and the 9A, 9B, 9C, 9D, 9E. This is only 5 sublineages in each of those. But in Shi's, they have 17 sublineages within lineage 9. So ours basically got simplified for this classification at lineage level. And then for our sublineages within lineage 1, we tried to be consistent with what Pavlovsky proposed, but we made some changes. As I mentioned early on, their sublineage 1B and 1G are closely related to each other. It's difficult to distinguish them. So we basically merged 1B and 1G into a single sublineage, 1B. And then we retired the terminology 1G. So in our system, there's no 1G sublineage there. This is one example. The second example, the 1D alpha sublineage and the 1E in their system also closely related to each other. We combine those 2 into 1E, and we discontinued to use 1D alpha. And then we renamed the 1D beta into 1D, and then discontinued to use the terminology 1D beta. So this is just examples of the several changes at the sublineage level. And then another point is that we realize that even at the sublineage level, some sublineages still include genetically diverse sequences. For example, lineage 1C, if you analyze the sequences, it have the multiple clusters. One of those corresponding to the newly emergent L1C variant strain. But this L1C variant is really not a very professional name. So we further divided L1C into 5 groups. L1C, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. So L1C.5 corresponding to the L1C variant strain. So we just make some, clarification about that, So we believe this, classification system will be more accurate for communications. And also in this the classification system, we have only subdivided to the level below sublineage for L1C. For others, example sublineage 1A, 1H, 1E, we have not classified them into the next level. Maybe in the future, if there's a need for epidemiology investigation, we can further classify those to the next level.
Well, thank you, JQ. It's a tremendous work, and I really like the fact that it's, like you said, it's global, right? It's a global system. And so I think you are already alluded to that, but a follow-up question is, how can veterinarians and producers use this lineage system? What are the applications, and how can this be helpful for their practice?
Yes, as I mentioned early on, the RFP typing is still commonly used in North America. We know that some shortcoming with that. So our goal is to replace RFP typing with this lineage and sublineage systems. So hopefully, veterinarian producers will gradually accept this concept. And then secondly, as you mentioned, is a global thing. So the researchers in some countries, I said they use their own ways to describe the PRRS2 detected in their country. It's just make it inconsistent. So in our publication, we provided a reference sequences with 1,100 reference sequences. It's available worldwide. People can just use these reference sequences to analyze their sequences. So this will help promote the global standardization of PRRS2 genetic classification. In addition, with the help of Dr. Michael Zeller, we have incorporated our PRRS2 OFO5-based genetic classification system into NextClade classifier. So NextClade is famous because of this SARS-CoV. During the SARS-CoV outbreak, people basically use the NextClade to determine the variant strains of SARS-CoV-2. So we, incorporate our classification system into NextClade. We have the one link for that PRRS2 NextClade. People around the world can just enter their sequences into NextClade in a few seconds. They can determine the lineage and the sublineage information of their sequences. So this is very user-friendly. I will say, the producers, the veterinarians still can rely on, example, RCU VDLs, the case report to find out the lineage, sublineage information of their sequences. But if they want to try by themselves, this NextClade will allow them to enter sequences and then find out such information by themselves. So this will generate some additional interest of them. So also this new system will allow the veterinarians and producers to communicate more accurately with each other. For example, if they detect L1C.5, when they said this, they will immediately know, oh, you mean this L1C variant strain, okay? And also example, L8D has only been detected in Mexico, has not been detected in other countries. Let's say if you collect samples in the US and then you find out your sequence belongs to 8D, then that will immediately be a red flag. Then to tell you need to do some further investigation because this 8D has never been detected in the US. Similarly, thing 8E is mainly related to the hypathogenic PRRS identified in China in 2006. That has been detected in multiple Asian countries, but has never been detected in the US. If you, find one sequence in 8E, that also will be a red flag. So I just hope, with this system, that will provide some tools for veterinarians and producers to communicate, also that will help them to monitor some emergence of some variant strains. So the last but not least, I wanted to mention that despite the numerous advantages of this new classification system mentioned by me, we have to realize that this system is not perfect. Number one, some sublineages still include genetically diverse strains. As a proof of concept, we have only classified sublineage L1C into the next level. Example, L1C 0.1 through 0.5. For other sublineages, we have not done so. So in the future, that will be some additional work for that purpose. Secondly, although we analyzed over 82,000 sequences, we tried our best to obtain these sequences. It's very likely that some sequences from some countries have not been included in our database for analysis. So we just hope that our system at least provide a basis. People can use this as a basis for additional analysis if in the future they want to propose additional lineages or sublineages, then it is fine. We just provided this platform. The third one, our classification system is only based on all 5 sequences. As you know, the whole genome sequencing will provide more information, give you a whole picture. So in the future, we need to develop some classification system based on whole genome sequencing or other genomic regions. And the last one, again, this genetic classification system is useful to determine the virus genetic relatedness and diversity, but it's not accurate to correlate this lineage with the virulence or the cross protection between viruses. I just want to caution people about this.
No, great information, Dr. JQ. And moving to Sirijita now, that Dr. JQ provided this new classification system for PRRS, and how the SDRS is going to incorporate this data and how we're going to report that as well in the future right now.
So as Dr. JQ mentioned, that he has created a new reference sequence file for all the users to be able to use and reclassify their sequences. At SDRS, we have used that reference file along with PRRS1 reference sequences provided by Dr. Trevison, and we have used those sequences to reclassify all historical data, and we have incorporated it into the SDRS database. And going forward, we are continuing doing this reclassification or for any other new sequences that is entering the SDRS database today. And we are doing this to maintain consistency, and we will keep the SDRS database updated in this way. We have already seen some changes in the number of sequences classified as unknown in the database. So previously we had over 10.18% of the total sequences at the SDRS database, which was classified as unknown or undetermined sequences, lineages. But right now that number has reduced to 1.92%. And in recent times, in the year 2023, the number of unclassified sequences has reduced from 11.18% using the previous classification system to less than 1% using the new classification system. This is really interesting information, and we want to bring it up to the users. And to do so, we have created a new online interactive dashboard for the users. It's very similar to the dashboard that was previously being displayed, but right now you can select the different lineages. You can hover over the different graphs to check what lineage is active during a particular year, and you can see different trends in that particular graph.
And it's free.
Thanks for providing that information, Sirijita. And we're going to have a bonus page of the reporting this month with all of this information together, including JQ publication as well, if you guys want to take a look and see all the new classification system. And as Dr. Linhares mentioned, it's free.
And also the link for the next clade classifier that JQ mentioned is going to be there in that bonus page. So all the information, one snapshot.
Perfect.
Super edition. Super SDRS edition this month.
Thank you, Dr. JQ, for bringing all this information to our audience. It was really good. Thanks, Sirijita, also for the good work on this. And I hope to see you guys next month. Thank you, guys.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mhm.